This is bothering me. Like I said, I was watching Tulsi Gabbard talk about this last night, and there is this talking point that Russia, the reason that this is happening is because Russia was upset that Ukraine was considering joining NATO and that they were going to have they were going to have arms put in their country. The people who are stating this, and I will punch you in the neck over it because this is true. And I may not be saying that rhetorically. This is Russian propaganda. This is absolute Russian propaganda. It legit is. When you have Pravda, literally Pravda publishing this, we jokingly call propaganda Pravda. That's actually a Russian propaganda newspaper name. It's not just a saying. When they're publishing this story after story after story with these talking points, when you have Putin making numerous remarks about this, yeah, it's Russian propaganda. Here's the problem with this whole line of thinking. As we just played here, all we have to do is promise that NATO will never expand to Ukraine and have Ukraine say the same thing. All of these people that are pushing this line, these are people that don't believe in nation building, right? Right? Let's just start here. All the people that are saying that you just have to tell Russia that NATO is not going to expand and include Ukraine, and that Ukraine has to say the same thing, and that they'll hear Russia on this. These are people who are opposed to nation building normally, correct? These are people who claim that they oppose tyrannies, correct? These are people who say that they make a really good show out of opposing big government, correct? So then pray tell, please explain to me why these people who are making new careers for themselves by posing as individual liberty and being pro-sovereignty for independent sovereign nations, why then are they pushing to expand the decision-making process of those independent sovereign countries to be something of that of a Russian puppet state? Explain to me how an independent country cannot make independent decisions for its independent self. Is that not the $1 million question? Why do we have people that are saying that we have to go and apply to Russia for permission to do X, Y, and Z? You know, the saying that you can modify it 6 ways to Sunday is that if Russians wanted there to be, if Russians laid down their arms, there'd be no war. If Ukraine laid down their arms, there'd be no Ukraine. And don't give me the whole NATO thing. Oh, this is a former Soviet Republic state that's becoming. Why then do we not have this issue with Latvia? Look at all of these other countries that do people understand geography? Do we have a basic concept of where the Baltic area is? Some of these people that have been opining about this on cable news, I'm just curious because there are a number of Baltic countries that already border up to Russia that have become NATO members themselves. And the reason that Ukraine is not a NATO member, as we already talked about, is you had Yankovic. He was the guy who was the Russian puppet back in, 2004 or whatever. He ended up stopping the process because they did not want to be aligned more closely to the West or EU, that Kremlin-friendly government. And then Euromaidan happened, and then he was run out on a rail like Elijah Lovejoy. And then you had Poroshenko come in, who was still kind of a stooge. And then you have Zelensky. And it's interesting that Zelensky, who in most recent memory is one of the most anti-Kremlin leaders of that country, it's amazing that all of a sudden the whole Nazi thing and all of this other stuff didn't come into play until you got an anti-Kremlin leader who was in office in Ukraine. Interesting how that didn't come up with Poroshenko or anybody else. You know Poroshenko. That was Biden's BFF, and he was the guy who was glossing over Hunter Biden's position on the board with Burisma. So I'm just saying it's all very convenient Pravda propaganda. It's convenient because it's propaganda, and you have people here in the United States that are repeating it as actual legitimate analysis on cable news, and it is stunning to me. Look, you don't have to be an expert in geopolitical issues. Are you a taxpayer? I hate this elitist BS. Oh, well, unless you went to Westminster, it gets severely, devastatingly bent. Are you a taxpayer? Do you have family that have served? Are you fighting age yourself? Are you just a sentient American? Because if you can check the box for any of those things, guess what? You're allowed to educate yourself, be an autodidact, and have an opinion about world issues. Only people who enable tyranny like to con people into thinking that only elitists who went to Ivy League or Westminster or who served in the State Department or as foreign ministers XYZ can weigh in and opine on these issues. It is an anti-American sentiment that betrays the spirit that founded and created this country. So you can tell those people, and I quote, get severely, devastatingly bent with your anti-American sentiment.